What's going on, guys? I was talking with Lamont Black from the HEX Stakes documentary earlier, and brought up two things I really like talking about, which is probability, little TradFi, and poker. Y'all know I love some poker analogies, right? Apparently he does as well, so I'm excited about this. So we want to talk about some HEX staking, and I think it's a good chance to really highlight a couple things that are cool in HEX, but also just good fundamental things to understand, whether it's investing, life in general, right? So the first one is ranges of outcomes and understanding how that affects the play. And we'll talk about some poker and playing a range. And the other is how a single position is different when you look at it on the whole, right? And so I'm going to kind of highlight something on how HEX as an individual stake feels similar to a certificate of deposit. But if you look at a HEX staking ladder, it's actually similar to something called a coupon bond. So let's start with range of outcomes. So this is something that doesn't get highlighted that often in HEX, and I think it's especially cool because it's similar to poker, and I'm a nerd like that. So if you look at the way staking plays out, it works as a changing to the range of outcomes. So if you take the same entry and the same exit for someone liquid versus someone staked, the difference in the outcome, the delta, the difference, is what they got in yield, right? So this does a couple of things that are really interesting. Sorry about the one and everything I'm rolling around here. So one is it changes the upside. If you time the bottom and the top perfectly with staking, you're up more. If you timed it completely inverse, where you bought the top and sold the bottom, you're up better. You remove that delta comes from the bottom of the range of outcomes. So when you look at staking habits, they remove the bottom and move it to the top. Now what you give up to get that difference is whatever the events were in the middle. So this is important. So when you look at staking, is that it adds to the top and the bottom. That's important. Now, how a player would want to change that depends on how far they want to go, how many events do they want to forego to get that change in the range, right? So why this is important is life is like poker. We're playing with incomplete information, right? So when you look at a range, it gives you an idea of what to do, what the best probabilities are for the information you have right now. So this is what we look at with staking ladders. So most players will have a certain amount liquid, a certain amount staked, and then they have a range that they stake out for. And that is because they want to have access to certain amounts of capital along the way, but they also don't know the future, right? So if you don't know, then you can basically have other people pay for certainty, and you can remove the exposure to certain events and take the guaranteed yield at HEX, right? So this will explain the next part, which is what a coupon bond is. And that's how a HEX staking ladder actually similar performs, right? So there's other things about a coupon bond, so it's not exact, but it's a way of looking at it as something that we kind of understand in TradFi. So a coupon bond is a debt obligation that typically has yearly interest payments. So a HEX staking ladder is similar to a programmable coupon bond. Now what I mean by that is, when you look at HEX, we always just think about it as you're getting a yield, right? But you actually burn your principal. So you get principal plus yield when you get returned, and you actually finish and mature and mint your rewards in a HEX stake. Now, so if you look at one, that's similar to a certificate of deposit. But if you look at a HEX staking ladder, it's similar to a coupon bond, and that you have an obligation, which is the entirety of the amount you put up, your principal, that gets paid out at the events that you program for the staking. So longer events, more, bigger events, more, right? So this is similar to, again, to a coupon bond, where you have this programmability about when you want these events to occur, and you're selling all the opportunities in the middle for that payoff, that yield, right? So it's similar to a coupon bond. And I think this is important because when we have some of these conversations with, now that we have so much going on with the SEC and the movie, we have to look at ways to explain to this to people who haven't been here the whole time. And a coupon bond is another way of explaining. So a lot of times when people look at staking, their concern is, oh, you locked up all your coins forever. You're never going to get it. What an idiot. Everyone's going to come dump on you and front run you. It's not how this works, right? So I explaining not only just the staking, but a staking ladder and how those mechanics works will make it make sense to a lot more players. So a staking event is similar to a certificate of deposit, but a staking ladder is much similar to, again, a programmable coupon bond. It's something that functions perfectly well in TradFi. They've been around for a long time. They make a ton of sense. So a coupon bond is similar to a staking ladder where you have all these programmable events to get back yield and interest. So this is cool stuff. So I'm glad this is being discussed. There's a lot of highbrow discussions around how that staking mechanic functions, how a lot of these things will play out. And I think that we're getting to a mature state where we can actually highlight some of the coolest stuff that goes on in HEX.